Well, hello, and thanks for watching another episode of News of the Pews, where you can count on unapologetic 2A advocacy. Gun rights are human rights. Everybody is super stoked about how the Trump regime seems to have done a complete 180 on gun rights over the past couple of months, and not gonna lie, I'm pretty stoked too. But I have to remind you, it's not all unicorn farts and fairy dreams. It is true that Trump is far less hostile to gun rights this time around than in his previous term, but the Department of Justice is still aggressively defending the NFA in Roberts versus ATF, where the DOJ just filed a 56-page brief explaining why the Second Amendment is about, like, I don't know, hunting or something. And ATF Director Robert Cekada just went on record defending the underhanded tactics his agency used to defraud a jury and convict Patrick Adamiak, although he did admit the sentence was unusually extreme. Look, friends, a thing can be two things at the same time. Sure, you can have chocolate or vanilla, but swirl is, also a thing that exists, and no human thing can ever be all good or all bad.
I don't know that I believe anyone's 100% a dick, man.
Yes, the Trump regime is less hostile to gun rights than they were in the past, but at the same time, they are still working against your interests. And yeah, I get it. You probably voted for him. I did too, 3 times.
I think I want my money back.
But just because he's your guy does not mean you have to support his bad policies. If anything, it is even more important for you to criticize your guy than the other guy, because the other guy was never gonna listen in the first place. But hey, it would be impossible for me to produce quality 2A propaganda without you. That's right. I don't have any sponsors, so I literally could not make this content without your support. So if you are in a comfortable place in life, please consider supporting this channel by purchasing one of these sick t-shirts for just $15. Or maybe one of these rad stickers, mugs, or magnets is more your speed. But whether you buy merch or donate directly at the links down there in the doobly-doo, and of course right here, your help is what keeps this thing going, and I am incredibly grateful for your generous support. But if you're not in a comfortable place, please don't feel pressured. You don't owe anyone else a thing. Just enjoy this 2A propaganda at the price of free $99 and continue to pray for us. Jill Biden recently defended her husband for lying when he promised not to pardon Hunter because she claims that nobody ever went to jail for what Hunter did.
Well, Joe said in the beginning, I won't pardon Hunter, I won't pardon Hunter. And we just could not let our son go to jail on a charge that no one has ever gone to jail for.
Now, usually, when the ruling class says something this stupid, they couch it with something kind of smart and vague so they aren't technically lying. But not this time. Jill Biden just said nobody has ever gone to jail for the crimes her son committed.
No one has ever gone to jail for.
According to the United States Sentencing Commission, at least 7,000 people a year are sent to prison for unlawful possession, and at least 400 more for lying on federal forms. But I guess in a very technical way, they didn't go to jail, because they went to prison. Next up is a tale of 2 police chiefs, the absolute cream of the only ones professional enough. The first is Jeffy Katz, chief of Virginia State Police. He's getting sued by the GOA because he defied a court order prohibiting Virginia from enforcing their universal background check, aka universal registration. Because if there is one message that leaders everywhere in this country want the people to hear loud and clear, it is that the law protects but does not bind the ruling class. You, stupid peasant, must comply with every capricious and arbitrary rule, irrespective of any actual harm to others, or get thrown in the struggle cuddle cage. But your masters are not subject to the law. Maybe you will object, claiming this suit proves he is not above the law, except you know damn well he's not going to jail over it. He won't even get fired over it.
Step into my office. Why? Because you're fucking fired.
Now, we probably can't say the same thing for the ironically named Earl Mayo, though.
All right, give me ham on 5, hold the mail.
Don't get me wrong, as a cop, he will be protected from the serious consequences he should suffer for trying to dispose of evidence by selling a crime gun to a pawn shop. But I would be shocked if he does any time for it, and I wouldn't be surprised in the slightest to see him hired by another department the second his case is concluded. Brothers and sisters, I'd like to talk a little bit about messaging. There has been a lot of talk recently about whether an M16 is the same thing as an AR-15. It is, for the record. All M16s are ARs, but not all ARs are M16s. You'll hear FUD-coded gun rights supporters trying to claim the AR is not the same thing in an effort to make people understand that regular ARs are not the same thing as the scary machine guns on television, because the disingenuous control freaks intentionally conflate the two. But unfortunately, that's not remotely persuasive. Unfortunately, a lot of people on our side just absolutely suck rancid walrus snot when it comes to persuading people, because you should never meet the enemy on his own terms. Look, I get that referring to civilian ARs as M16s is grating on the nerves, but actually isn't a persuasive debate tactic. Worse, it leaves hanging in the air the premise that the government has the authority to ban scary machine guns, if they are scary machine guns. Same when we engage in arguments about actually, handguns kill more people than rifles. Well, to quote Anti-Nowhere League,
So fucking what?
this is a loser argument because it accepts the premise that government has the authority to regulate guns if they're dangerous enough. That's a flawed premise, and we shouldn't grant it. The right to bear arms is a fundamental human right, and the government has no authority to restrict our access to arms whatsoever. But while you may agree with me on that point, it isn't the part we want to debate, because it isn't persuasive to someone who isn't already on your side. Soccer moms don't give a wet fart that handguns are used to kill more often because they saw that psycho using a scary machine gun to kill kids on the picture box. You have to make them understand that the alternative is far more frightening. You have to talk to them about things they care about. That's why I like to focus on the race and class aspects of gun rights. I like to focus on how gun control is used disproportionately to harm black men. I like to focus on how burdensome permit regimes are near impossible for a single mom without a car to navigate. I like to remind people they're supporting a policy that hands a monopoly on violence to Donald Trump. Let's be honest. I don't need a gun nearly as much as a small female does. My physical appearance makes me far less likely to be targeted in the first place, and my admittedly mediocre physique is still several times more powerful than the average woman. I am a human, allegedly, so I have the right to be armed, but gun control hurts women far more than it hurts men in that regard. One of the more effective arguments of late is pointing out how the Trump regime has been pursuing the classification of LGBTQFBBQ as a mental illness which could impact lawful gun ownership, as well as classifying political opponents as terrorists to the same end, just like the other side does. Friends, I'm not trying to get you to go woke or some bullshit like that. I am asking you, please, when you go out into the world and you argue with authoritarians on the interwebs, or if the conversation strays into gun rights over beers with a friend, please don't rattle off bumper sticker slogans or arguments that you find persuasive, but instead think about that other person's values and try to meet them where they are. Well, friends, rounds complete on 2, but before I go, your moment of completion. I love you.